So since the last time UNC and Duke split the ACC regular season title way back in 2001, they've since played the season finale with a potential UNC title outright or shared on the line 8 times. And UNC has won all 8 of those games, 3 of which were at Cameron Indoor, which of course is where they will play this weekend. Do you think it becomes 9-0?
No. And while you're digging into the stat database there, was Coach K's swan song one of those games?
I believe it was.
I believe it was too. And so you look at history and you look at what Carolina has done, embarrassing Duke. Of course, Coach K's swan song, then Coach K's swan song part 2 in the Final Four. And you got to figure Carolina at least has a mental edge here. But I think Duke takes this one. I think the way they've been playing, the backlash against Filipowski recently, Duke loves playing that villain. And I think they rise to the occasion and take this one on Saturday.
Yeah, okay. So I hate to actually agree with you. But if you look at the I agree with what you said about Filipowski. He kind of on his nasty boy mode now. But in the last meeting, of course, it was in Chapel Hill, Duke only shot 5 of 19 from 3. Like, they really just never got going.
Yeah, that's not them.
And exactly. I think they shoot a lot better at home. And then the other thing going into that game, I was like, well, let's see how, because I really expect Carolina to dominate on the glass. Carolina only out-rebounded them by 1.
In light of recent events, where does Filipowski rank now on the Grayson Allen scale of Duke villains?
That's a really good question. So to me, Filipowski put himself into the Kyle Singler territory of
That's
hate.
Way down the list.
Yeah,
he's way down the list.
He's not near the Grayson Allen hatred. No way.
So when I think of the big ones, of course you got Leitner, you got JJ Redick, you got Grayson Allen, you got Paulus.
I was going to say Paulus. I was going to say that, I guess just the name Plumlee could have been a few of them.
Right. How many Plumlee? Are there more Plumlees or Molinas?
Got to be Plumlees, no?
I would think so. The Molinas are the Puerto Rican Plumlees.
Yeah, I think that's mostly. Gerald Henderson was particularly hated by Carolina fans, but he didn't have the widespread hate of the other.
What about
guy.
Shire, though?
Shire was a little fuckboy when he played, for sure.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, hell of a shooter.
Yeah, and well, getting back to the game though, is it crazy for me to think that Duke has a coaching edge in this one? Am I shitting on Hubert too much?
Based off what?
I don't know.
Because I think Hubert Davis, to me, is by far the coach of the year this year. The way he's completely
coach of the year in the ACC is Adrian Autry, and I'm not being a homer.
Okay, well, either way, Hubert Davis, however you feel about him this year, he's done an incredible job. However you feel about Hubert Davis as a coach, the job he's done this year to unlock RJ Davis and get him back to the player we all know he can be, to completely rebuild the team during the summer with the transfer portal, and to have them where they are right now after that disaster of a season. Listen to this. Carolina have never won 17 games in a regular season in the ACC. They have 16 right now going into Duke.
They're staying at 16.
They very well might.
But Shire's best performance of the year was that post-game press conference after Wake.
Sold it, baby.
When Filipowski got murdered on the floor. And he kept saying, I take nothing away from Wake, but this is ridiculous.
Yes. He got everything he wanted out of that.
He did. Getting away from the game, though, I did want to ask you something else. And I saw this. I want to give credit where it's due. I think it was from our old buddy Brendan Marks, who was talking about Armando Bacot. Obviously a great Tar Heel, a great all-time Tar Heel. He'll be remembered for a long time in Chapel Hill. In a big reason why, of course, is those games against Duke that we talked about a couple years ago. He showed up in those games. Brought Carolina to a Final Four run he was hobbled during that run. Great Tar Heel. As of right now, North Carolina has a rule about numbers getting retired at the Smith Center. And in order to get your number retired, you either have to be an All-American or win ACC Player of the Year. Armando Bacot is going to finish his Carolina career with neither of those. But do you think he deserves to have his number in the rafters? And if he does, would you change the rules to put number 5 up there? And the rule change would be if you were an all-time leader in any major statistical category, you also get your number retired.
The answer is yes. You retire his jersey and you make an exception for this. Being the all-time leading rebounder in a school that has had guys like Hansbrough come out of there, and I don't really care about the 5 years of eligibility. The thing that matters most to Carolina, and you think this is going to sound like cheesy or corny or whatever, but to them, it matters a lot that Bacot played for Roy and for Hubert. It's like about carrying the Carolina legacy and keeping the bridge from past to present. I'm telling you, that matters a lot for Carolina. And statistically, you can absolutely justify it. He's been to a Final Four. We'll see what he does this year, how far he could take him. But you absolutely have to retire his jersey. And just the way he's represented Carolina, this guy could have left 3 different times. Never even crossed his mind.
Rules are rules, though, man. And rules are rules for a reason. So I'm a Boston sports fan. I grew, huge Red Sox fan. The Red Sox suck now. But one thing I always loved about the Red Sox was that they only retired your number if you went into the Hall of Fame as a member of the Red Sox. They changed that in the early 2000s. I forget the exact year, but they changed it in the early 2000s so that they could retire Johnny Pesky's number 6, just because Johnny Pesky stayed on and hung out in the dugout until he was 95 years old. So they threw number 6 up there and changed the rules.
Wow.
And then after that, it just became a free-for-all with guys like Wade Boggs getting his number retired for the Red Sox. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's wearing a Red Sox cap in the Hall of Fame, but he burned the Red Sox big time when he went to the Yankees and won a World Series. My point being, once you change the rules, it becomes a slippery slope, and it kind of bastardizes the entire process. And before you know it, you become like another favorite team of mine, the Celtics, who has literally every number up there.
Yeah. No,
Reggie, God bless Reggie Lewis, but he does not deserve to have his number retired for the Celtics just because he died.
Yeah.
And so you start changing the rules, and I realized this would just be one rule, but now all of a sudden, how long until some other schmuck has his number up in the rafters at the Smith Center? Yeah. Not that Bacot's a schmuck, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. He's a good player. I mean, but part of the reason I do, part of the reason, and I even just said it before, part of the reason I think he deserves to have it is because of how much he loves Carolina. But one may say I'm a hypocrite because I also do not think Carmelo Anthony should have his jersey retired for the Knicks. And the only justification for Melo having it is that the guy really wanted to be a Knick. There's no other statistical or
also the Knicks aren't Carolina, man. Carolina actually wins.
Of course.
Who has their number retired for the Knicks?
Dave DeBusschere.
Pat Ewing.
Pat, of course. Willis. Clyde. Bill Bradley.
Really?
Bill Bradley.
Throw Anthony Mason up there?
If it were up to me, I would.
Of course.
But all right. Anyway, so you're picking Duke. Do we have a score prediction?
Yes. I'm gonna go 87-82 Blue Devils.
87-82 Blue Devils. Wow, you think they keep it a little low scoring?
Yeah.
All right. I too think it's low scoring, but I'm gonna go 85-80. Duke wins at home.
All right. I think we're in agreement.
Yeah. All right. Want to switch gears a little bit?
Yeah.
Can we talk about young rude boy Arch Manning declining to be part? I mean, this is insane. So Arch Manning, more than 10,000 players, but not Arch Manning, have opted into EA Sports College Football 2025. Arch said he's not doing it because he's focused on playing on the field. I think this was the worst thing he could have done because this brought attention to something that truly did not need attention. And if he's truly trying to focus on football, man, you would have known better than to just opt in, and it wouldn't have been a story. Now people are actually just talking about something they wouldn't have talked about otherwise.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I don't get how it takes away his focus from football. He does understand that he's not actually entering the video game. Like every time someone turns on their PS5, he doesn't need to suit up, right?
Yeah, you're not on call, my boy. You're not on standby. You're on standby with that clipboard. But the thing is, think of it this way. If you were in a video game, how often would you play with yourself?
What do you mean by that? Pause.
My fault.
Every time. But you don't think Arch is going to play as the Longhorns even though he's player number 16?
Yeah.
Like, of course. Back in my day, first of all, I still fire up NCAA Football 2002 every now and then. I've won 37 straight national championships with Syracuse. But those clowns still have like QB number 7 on the back of their jerseys. It's pretty sick, and it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it's true. Clearly.
But I just don't get his reasoning, and it makes me think. I mean, what was a concern about Arch and someone of his profile coming in? Is he going to be a prima donna? Mm-hmm. And I had no reason to believe he would be, but like you said, this alters the attention and makes people start to think that. And when you and I were talking before we started the show, I raised the question, how long until Arch transfers? Because you got Quinn Ewers, who's going to be the starter again this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot of good quarterbacks sit for a couple of years, and it has no impact on their pro prospects. And you said the Mannings don't want to be a part of the transfer portal BS. Why not? What have the Mannings ever done that makes you think that they don't want to be a part of that BS? Eli said that he wouldn't go to the Chargers. Peyton stayed in school one more year because he didn't want to go to the Jets. All the Mannings ever do is make situations to put themselves in the best possible scenario. And I don't blame them for that, but it's not like the Mannings are above the transfer portal by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. But what's a better option for Arch Manning right now? And you can't just say anywhere where he'll play, because that's very much not the case, because he has a really good situation at Texas. There's only so many schools he could go to where you would know for sure he's making more NIL money. You have what elite program is taking him based off effectively zero tape. So what would you do? Like, why would you transfer is my thing.
So I can't say to play immediately?
Yeah, no, I mean, because there's so much more to it than just that.
And this is the easy answer. But imagine the reaction if he goes to Ole Miss. I mean, wouldn't it? And I was thinking, what about Tennessee? But why? Because his uncle went there? No, Ole Miss is Manning University.
Yeah. And
to get into an offense run by Lane Kiffin, I mean, that would be great. I mean, Sark is a great offensive mind. I think Lane's better. And so to go there, be the prodigal son at Ole Miss, can you tell me who Ole Miss's starting quarterback is going into this year?
No, it's a good point. I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
And I'm sure they have the resource. They got a bunch of good old boys down there who are willing to line his pockets. It might not be Austin money, but I'm sure they could get there.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one. Arch to Ole Miss.
I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I can't be the first guy who's ever thought that Arch Manning would make sense at Ole Miss, but like,
yeah, of course,
it does make a lot of sense.
No, and the timing of it. If there were ever a time, I mean, I believe the transfer portal reopens. Is this the new rule? April 15th, so he's eligible to transfer then. So,
Lane Kiffin has built that entire program on the. I mean, his whole thing is transfer to the SIP. Yeah, that's his whole thing.
Yeah, but
so imagine that pull.
We also
Lane's made a lot of pulls, both on and off the field.
That's a fact. He has.
What's up?
Yeah. So the other reality to it is we don't know just how good this kid is.
No, we don't.
So is Lane because if he decides to transfer, how could you justify him being one of the best, quarterbacks available in the transfer portal? Like, what would you be basing it off of?
His last name.
Yeah, exactly. That's all.
Yeah. But is that any different than any other guy? I mean, how many guys do you really know how good they are?
Yeah, but I'm saying
Quinn Ewers, for example. I mean,
we have Tate.
Yeah. Okay. So what about right? But you didn't when he transferred there from Ohio State.
That's true. Yeah, but
and another serial transfer, Tate Martell. I mean, how many schools did he go to that he kept getting top billing because he was Tate Martell?
Remember when we thought he was going to be the truth?
He was gonna bring back the U. That's my point.
Yeah,
I mean, Arch Manning's better than Tate Martell.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
But speaking of another guy who there are a lot of questions about, and I think you and I actually agree on this one. I've been going back and forth, but when it comes to Caleb Williams, think of all the times in your life you ignored a red flag and felt really dumb for doing it. And the red flags around him, I mean, 0-4 versus ranked teams, first player ever to just show up at the combine and sit around and do nothing. His camp is saying they want financial stake in a team that drafts him. Like the red flags that are
What about
coming
crying in his mother's lap after losing a football game?
And the crying, you're a dick. The crying doesn't bother me as much, but
you want that to be your quarterback?
I could live with it. I could live with it. The kid's emotion. I don't think he'll do that again, though. Put it that way.
Okay, but that's in him.
It's in him.
Yeah.
It's in him.
He got that puss in him.
So, all right, why don't you go ahead and give me your thoughts? Because I think there's a lot of red flags, and Justin Fields may not be it, but you're not a quarterback.
I like Justin Fields. I
do too. I do too.
I would take Justin Fields on my team. Wouldn't you? Would you rather have Justin Fields or Daniel Jones?
Justin Fields.
I'd rather have Justin. So I'm a Patriots fan. I'd rather have Justin Fields than Mac Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Justin Fields than any of these top 3 quarterbacks that are coming out.
Yeah.
And it's really not even close. I
agree.
I think Justin Fields is a classic change of scenery guy. And Caleb Williams, like you mentioned, I mean, yes, there are the on the field red flags, but and you kind of laughed off the crying in his mother's arm things. But as a guy who's just watched Mac Jones for the last couple of years, you question his toughness when it comes to adversity. And when you see something, in all seriousness, when you see something like that out of Caleb Williams, it makes you question his toughness. And yes, there's a difference between emotion and that kind of soft emotion. You can cry because you're disappointed about losing, but when you display it like that, it's really off-putting. And I think you start to lose the respect of some of your teammates. And that just can't happen. And Caleb Williams, obviously really talented. He's not as big as I thought he was. I thought he was like a much bigger Kyler Murray. And I know saying a bigger Kyler Murray is so what, but like a much bigger Kyler Murray. But he's really not that big.
Mm-mm.
I know he's got incredible arm talent, but I don't get all the hoopla about the guy, especially with all the red flags. And I just think, yes, he should go 1 overall still, but I think he's the biggest bet to be a bust that I've seen since Jamarcus Russell. I mean, Jamarcus Russell came out and everyone kind of knew, this guy's incredibly talented, but he doesn't have what it takes upstairs to carry a franchise on his back. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, he didn't. And I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is going to get into drugs and stuff like Jamarcus. Totally different scenario. But I'm just saying, from surefire bust potential, I can't think of anybody who had bust written all over him this much since Jamarcus.
It's a fair take. Can I tell you the guy I see? Excuse me. Sorry, throat's been a little dry lately.
Sip that tea.
I know. But the guy I see is Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I see a lot of Zach Wilson. I see athletic, incredibly strong arm. But what do we really know about him? What did he really do against good teams? I see Zach Wilson for sure.
I do think the competition that Caleb Williams played was obviously better than the competition that Zach Wilson played in college. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those games that SC lost, you can't. I mean, how many times did he put up 35, 40, 45 points and USC still lost the game? Mm-hmm. That's not his fault.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily hold that against him, but the attitude coming in, questioning the system, wanting an ownership state. You haven't done shit. Like, it just, how do you expect to win over a locker room? And I realize, I sound like the out of touch old guy right now, but like, that stuff still matters. That stuff still does matter. And I'm not buying. I'm not buying. Now, if my team had the number one pick, I think you have to take him. But if you're the Bears, why not stick with Fields and just get a king's ransom for that pick? Because somebody's going to be stupid enough to go up and take him.
Agreed. I wholeheartedly agree. The the thing about Justin Fields too, he's had 3 offensive coordinators in the last 3 seasons. And like I said before, the team is very far from a Super Bowl. You're very far from the playoffs, so it's like
I don't think you're very far from the playoffs.
Maybe not. Yeah, but I don't think they're a quarterback away from just solving everything. Is my point.
What if you could trade back? I mean, I don't know what number you trade back to.
Joe Alt.
No, get Marvin Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't take him at number 1. But if you're going to trade back, you have to weigh how far back can you go and still guarantee that you would get him.
So here's my question. Because there were rumors that he said this, but it's also like no one's really denying that this actually happened. But he somewhere down the road, or somewhere along the line, I should say, he did say he would never play for Chicago. Like it was the one team he would never. I don't get it either. But he did say it was the one team he would never play for. If you're Chicago, like that, you're thinking about that. Would that stop you? If you're
call his bluff.
Yeah.
Would it stop you?
I would not want to inherit a guy who doesn't want to put the jersey on into my team. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't go that route.
And I don't know the answer, so it's kind of a hypothetical. But how many guys have postured by saying, I don't want to play for this team, and then they end up doing it? I mean, the number one example is Jim Kelly said he would never go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I mean, he even went to the goddamn USFL to avoid Buffalo. And then, and I know we're talking about a million years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, your guy Eli said that he wouldn't go to San Diego, and he didn't. Yeah. John Elway said that he wouldn't go to Baltimore, and he didn't. But I don't know. I feel like there are other guys and I'm talking out of my ass, but I feel like there are other guys who have threatened that, but have ended up tucking tail at the end.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you're right. Like, why not Chicago? It's not like you're going to.
Like, wouldn't you rather go to Chicago than Washington?
Easily.
I mean, I'd rather go to Chicago than New England, and I'm a Patriots fan. Like, I wouldn't want to go to New England right now.
Not right now. No. All right. I have another question. I know we didn't discuss this, but do you stick with my guy, Sam Howell, for one more year? Probably. Yeah.
I mean, they have to take Jaden Daniels, though, right? I'm not in love with any of the 3 quarterbacks, but Jaden Daniels is my favorite. My one concern with it, he is really slight. Like, he is skinny. He's going to have to put on 20 pounds. I don't know if he has that in him.
Yeah, he's a slender man.
Yeah, he is.
But his arm strength is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I see a little bit of Lamar in him, not as athletic, but a little bit of Lamar, because he can be a bit erratic.
He can. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he was, and it's an easy comp because of the school, but like his progression from year 1 to year 2 was similar to what Burrow did.
Yeah, he's not Burrow.
I didn't think Burrow was going to be this when he was coming out of LSU, though. Did you?
I didn't either. No, for sure. I thought no.
I mean, hand up, I was wrong about Burrow. I thought he was going to be okay, but I didn't think he was going to be this.
I used to call him Screen Pass Joe. I was so wrong.
Like, that's another guy. So I'm completely shitting all over my initial argument. I thought Burrow was going to be a bust.
Yeah.
I thought
did too.
It's the same thing that I'm saying about Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. But, not he didn't have the off the field concerns, obviously, and the attitude concerns, but I just didn't think he was that good.
Yeah. Well, regardless, Caleb Williams is now minus 1,200 to be the number 1 overall pick. So wherever he ends up, barring absolute disaster, that's where he's going.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Did we want to touch on Senor Ryan Garcia?
I know you did.
When it comes to Ryan Garcia, a lot of people are very fairly confused at what's been happening with him. To me, the first important thing to understand is that multiple things can be true about this situation, and that one is that he is indeed having a mental breakdown, manic episode, whatever you want to call it. And the second thing that can absolutely be true is that this is happening because he did indeed experience a lot of dark shit in his life. And my only message is for those who don't know what to think about this situation or how to feel about this, because it is a very delicate, dark topic, just be observant for a moment. Not trying to sway you either way, but I'm just encouraging you to be observant and ask yourself this. Who is covering this story? Like, who's leading the charge? What platforms? What outlets? Who is leading the charge in the coverage of this whole Ryan Garcia situation? Because if I remember correctly, Ryan Garcia just a few weeks ago was on some pretty big time shows on major networks. He has 10.3 million Instagram followers. He's headlining what is one of the biggest combat sports events of 2024. Surely if he comes out and says these awful things happened to him as a kid, it would get a lot of coverage, right? Silence can be very telling, is what I'm trying to tell you. And another thing that I'll throw out there is Ryan Garcia comes out with these insane claims, right? Did two major platforms not go down this week? Did Instagram and Facebook not go down this week? Did. Food for thought. Just be observant.
A lot of people thought that was tied to Super Tuesday, though.
Could have been.
A little preview of what we're going to get in November.
When the grid goes down, I'll be on my porch with you having a few chilies up in the woods.
That's right. Those were the days, man.
Those were the days.
I didn't mean to make you digress, though. Continue.
That was all I really wanted to say about it. But I just think Ryan Garcia is fighting for something much, much bigger now, it seems. And I just pray that the guy is okay, and that's all.
It's obviously a really fucked up situation, but the unfortunate reality of where we are right now as a society, but also as a news viewing audience, when I saw the Garcia story, my first reaction was, yeah, this is incredibly messed up, but I'm not surprised. I mean, you see, if I had seen something like, not even 5 years ago, if I had seen something like that 18 months ago, I would have been like, no way, come on. Because I just didn't believe that shit like that was so plausible in essentially the mainstream. Like, yeah, fucked up shit's gone on, you know, in the backwoods of wherever the fuck for forever. Yeah. But I mean, this is with some really important people who have a lot of influence, have a lot of power. And I saw it and I was like, this is 150% believable. And I think that's just, and I don't think I have a tinfoil hat on. I think that's just the state of where we are as a society right now, which is incredibly disturbing.
I think once you accept that there are dark forces and that evil exists in this world, these things become a lot more clear. And like I said, I don't want to go too deep into this because it is very dark, but like I thought
you were going to bring up the absence of the royal family too.
I was not going to bring that up.
We went from Armando Bacot's number getting retired to where's Princess Kate in a matter of like 18 minutes.
It's called versatility right there. Balance.
That's right.
All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
You have any thoughts on the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight that was announced on Thursday?
Yeah. So Mike Tyson is born in 1966. Who was president? Did we even have color TVs in 1966?
It was close. Close. Okay. And Lyndon Johnson was the president in 1966.
I'll tell you my takeaway, though, and try and hopefully I can explain myself properly here. because when it comes to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, however you feel about Jake Paul, he's done what every combat sports star is supposed to do. And that's that everyone's invested in you. Like, you may hate him, you may love him, but everyone is invested in Jake Paul. So I think in what is effectively a dying sport that has been completely overtaken by MMA and the UFC, Jake Paul stands alone as one of the very few guys who is active, who knows how to sell a fight, and is creative in his promotion style. And the guy does have skills. He works very hard. Say what you want about his competition, but the fact remains, and what this still won't solve for Jake Paul, is that every single one of his opponents, there's a but, right? Oh, so he fought the guy who had 20 knockouts and, was an undefeated professional, but he retired 5 years ago and now he's driving Ubers. Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, but Tommy Fury's been on TV shows. He's not like a full-time boxer. He's not that good. Jake Paul fought Ben Askren, but Ben Askren's a wrestler. He fought Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley. There's a but for every single one of his fights. And the but in this one is that the man you're fighting was born in 1966, my brother. Like, that's crazy.
Mike Tyson is one of the greatest fighters of all time. People who really follow fighting say that his downfall came after the Buster Douglas upset, which I think was in 1990, which is when I was 3 years old. It's 7 years before young Hank was even a glimmer in your dad's eye. Whether you and he had some decent years after the Douglas upset, but that was really the beginning of the end for him. The end of the end for him was 1997 when he bit Evander Holyfield's fucking ear off. And that's what, 27 years ago at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been I don't want to call him a joke, but I mean, he's out of it. He's been out of it, and he isn't just out of it. It's not like Floyd Mayweather out of it. Like, he's really out. He's been out of it for longer than he was ever in it. And he had a good career. He had a Hall of Fame career, but I mean, he's an old man. I mean, he could be your father
for sure,
and then some.
This isn't like, not to cut you off, but this isn't like when Jake Paul fought Anderson Silva and Anderson Silva had fought in the UFC within the last 2 years. This is a man who hasn't been in the octagon in a pro fight in over 25 years.
Right.
It's insane. Yeah. Do you think they sell out Jerry World?
Oh, yes. Yes. My question to you is, do you think this is more competitive than Mayweather-McGregor was?
No, definitely not.
McGregor got his ass kicked.
But Conor was really able to land some shots. I don't know. I still don't know if Jake can touch him.
You don't know if Jake can touch Tyson?
Dude, Tyson still moves really fucking fast.
So you think Tyson's going to win?
No. I think they're just going to spar. And I'm saying really connect. He'll touch him. But I'm saying he's not going to be able to land a big one on Tyson.
The thing is, Tyson, like, if Tyson catches him good, I think he still has it. Yeah, he could go out.
He got the type of strength that never goes away.
And now he's got old man strength.
And now he's probably pissed that he has to, like, do this. But what was I going to say? I think it ends up just being more of a sparring bout. That's my point in saying that. Like, I don't think Jake's going to land the big one on Tyson at this point. They're just going to go in there. They're going to touch each other up a little bit. They're going to dance around each other. And in the last few rounds, they'll go for it. That's my point about it. Like, it's not going to be that type of fight where dudes are trying to knock each other out. No way.
It'll be like when Hulk Hogan fought Rocky.
Exactly. Be like that. And when it comes to McGregor and Mayweather, like, those dudes were actually going in there trying to knock each other out. I don't see Jake Paul.
Mayweather never really tried to knock anybody out. He was all defense, right? Or is that me being a dumb boxing fan?
No, I mean, he had very good counters, and he eventually started to land the counters on Conor because Conor just kept going in with the pressure. And he didn't put him to sleep. He didn't knock him out, but it was more of like an exhaustion type thing. But yeah, I mean, Jake Paul will obviously win the fight. Like, it's in the bag. It's all fixed for him to make it and win it. But he's not going to knock him out. They're just going to kind of dance around each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. When is it? It's in July sometime, right?
Yeah, it's not for a while. Jerry World in July. Whew.
Yeah. We'll talk about this every episode. Be like Burt Sugar breaking down boxing with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Do you even remember Burt Sugar?
No.
Shows our age, man.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a big 10-year difference.
It is.
So for those who didn't know, Hank and I share a birthday. It's March 15th, which is coming right up. 10-year difference. So I'm 87, he's 97, and sometimes that gap shows. When we first had the idea for starting a show together, we thought we would kick it off by talking about some of the great March 15th birthdays, and I brought up Baseball Hall of Famer Harold Baines, and I think your exact response was, "Who the fuck is that?"
Yeah, who he played for.
I mean, he's probably the weakest Hall of Famer of them all, but like, you got to at least know who he is. Do you even know what baseball is?
This guy. Who did he play for? What teams?
The White Sox, the Orioles, or a couple others in there.
Huh. I think the greatest March 15th birthday there is, though, would have to be Michael Scott from The Office.
Yeah.
What
about Eva Longoria?
Eva Longoria is up there for sure.
Kevin Youkilis.
Kevin Youkilis?
Yeah. Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin was born March 15th?
Louis Riddick.
I knew that one. That one
Yeah.
I weirdly knew. Yeah.
Well,
good stuff.
Yeah, it's a decent birthday day.
Do we have any others for March 8th?
For March 8th, yes, I actually wrote these down. I thought March 15th was weak. March 8th is more weaker. So who do we got? So the 7th is actually decent. The 7th has a couple of legendary Steelers. It has Lynn Swann and Franco Harris were both born on the 7th. As was Bryan Cranston. Walter White was born on the 7th. As was Jenna Fisher, noted office babe, born on the 7th. The 8th, though, the three headliners are Kenny the Jet Smith. Getting back to Carolina hoops, Kenny Smith.
Yeah.
Legendary Broncos kicker Jason Elam. And Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Rice, born on March 8th.
Kenny the Jet Smith. Yeah, not bad. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Kenny the Jet Smith. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
You had a little disrespect for him earlier.
I didn't. I did not. I said he would be the best guy on the NBA countdown panel by a mile, but I think he is the weak link, oddly, on the TNT panel. He's the most expendable guy out of Ernie, Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny. Yeah,
he's with the best, though. I mean, you're holding the bar very high. He is
very high.
That's the gold standard of pre and post and half NBA programming.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, he would instantly be the best guy on the countdown panel.
Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, amongst the stars on TNT, I think he is the dimmest. But happy birthday nonetheless.